we met here as security sector actors to start now our monthly review meetings on the state of internal security in the country as we prepare for the general elections. Those of you who were around in the year 2017, you know that this is a tradition in the security sector. We do not conduct elections. Elections are conducted by the IEBC. We facilitate elections. And in that process of facilitating elections, we meet regularly to look at the campaign environment, the state of security in the country, whether there are any offenses that are being committed, whether the country remains peaceful as we go to the general elections. And I have this to say to you and to the country, that save for the challenge that we have, which is not new and that's not going to go away tomorrow, with terrorism in the region generally, the country is peaceful and we are by and large safe. The challenges that we have in the region related to terror or terrorism as it were are real, and I have to be very frank with the people of Kenya and say this. We have to be very cautious. We have heightened our level of security in certain parts of our country because of this, and we will maintain it at that level. And these challenges we have in the region are not only affecting us, they're affecting us and also our colleagues in the region. Just last week, we were in meetings with our colleagues from Uganda on these same issues. Minister for Defense was here, and a good number of us spent some time under the chairmanship of His Excellency, our President, and in his capacity as the chair of the EAC right now, to look at the state and the challenges of terrorism in the region across the board. You know that we have very serious challenges in our neighborhoods right now. You know the situation in Somalia, you know the situation in South Sudan, you know the situation in Ethiopia, and some of these challenges we are dealing with. So when we tell our people that this is not the time to drop our guard, we mean it. And terror takes different forms as you go by. We are working very hard. You have seen the work that we are doing and our heightened deployment on the border with Somalia and the increased security activities we are having right, all the way from Lamu to Takaba, in Mandera. We are asking our people across the country, fellow citizens, to be even much more careful than we have been in the past. Be much more cautious, be much more conscious of your environment, know who your neighbor is, and if you see suspicious activity around you, please report to your nearest police station or to your nearest security agencies. This challenge we are dealing with is a global phenomenon. It manifests itself differently in our region, but it calls upon all of us to be vigilant and to understand that this is a collective responsibility we have. It's not a responsibility for the police alone, it's not a responsibility for the security agencies alone, it's a responsibility for all of us. If you come across any information that will help our security sector agencies, please, I urge you, share the information with our security colleagues. The challenges of terrorism are real. We are living in an environment which has got, some of these challenges that we are all working day and night to ward off. But as we do, we do better with more collaboration. Before I leave that point, I need to thank, the people of Kenya. A lot of the disruption we have been able to do is as a result of information that we have received from members of the public. And we thank the patriotic Kenyans, people who love their country and their fellow citizens who have come forward and shared information. We have kept that information confidential but acted on that information, reason as to why our security forces have been able to disrupt a lot of this activity. But besides that, the challenges we have in Laikipia, which we are dealing with at Laikipia Nature Conservancy, the challenges we have in Kerio, which we are stepping up now to address and mop up illicit firearms in that particular belt of our country, are challenges that we are alive to and we are working to address And I think we have registered significant successes in this, but we will continue to work on these issues. They are not going to go away today. Some of them have existed because of bad manners and bad practices we have had in some parts of our country over a long period of time. But now is the time to confront them. We are determined and committed as government to deploy all resources available to us to ensure that we keep the peace in those areas of our country. But besides that, by and large, our country remains secure and safe. And any incidents that come up, we deal with them, firmly, according to the law, and make sure that economic activity continues in our country. Secondly, to come now to today's meeting, we have met to review the electoral environment in the country. Since December last year, we've had about 4 incidents of violence that have been reported in relation to campaign activities. And we have addressed them all. There are cases that are in court in relation to some utterances and some violations that have been done by political leaders. We want to urge the citizens of our wonderful country and our leaders that let us mind the country. This country is a blessing we have from God. It's for all of us, and we have an equal responsibility to ensure that our country goes forward. Elections come and go. We've had elections before. This is not the first time we're going to have elections. We must be able to contain ourselves as our people and as our leaders. But be frank with you, our security forces have done their best. We thank our police officers. We have received a very comprehensive report from the Inspector General of Police on what he has been able to do, from our colleagues at the NCIC, from the DCI, and all the investigations that have been done. And we are grateful for the work that our teams continue to do across the country. We will increase our deployment in various parts of the country. We will step up our activity, and we are going to be a bit more focused on those who violate the law, especially during this campaign season. So we urge our leaders, and we want to ask them to be responsible. Frankly, from the discussions we have had this morning, when you analyze the landscape in the country, there is no population-driven challenge. And we receive reports, and we are closely observing across the country. There is no part of the country where I can tell you, and I have to be very sincere with you as a public servant and as your Minister for Security, we don't have information on any part of the country where either Wananchi are mobilizing or grouping themselves based on ethnicity or ideology or anything. And interestingly, actually, much more than even it has happened in the past, the country is very peaceful. And then you can see clearly that the various political groups that are campaigning, that are out, that have declared interest and are campaigning out there, they are fairly spread across the country. They have acquired support in most of the parts of the country, and therefore we are better off than we have been in the past in terms of the public's response and attitude towards the campaigning and the electioneering period. What is frustrating us, that we have to be very frank also and say, is the behavior of some of our political leaders. One, the endemic false promising that is happening around the country, the incredible amount of bribing that is going on, bribing groups of people, ferrying young groups of people and bribing them in the process, and sometimes mismanaging those organizations and causing conflicts amongst groups of people. That is the phenomenon we are seeing around here. There's nothing to worry us from a security point of view. So if political leaders refrained from some of those criminal activities, we would not have anything to worry about. Wananchi have no problem at all. We haven't seen or received any complaints about Wananchi ganging up because of this or that or the other. The country remains safe. Our people continue to conduct themselves well until, of course, they are mobilized and bribed or promised money or told things that never come to pass, and then conflicts begin to spiral in that kind of manner. We will continue to be vigilant. Finally, we have agreed again today, we have fine-tuned our collaboration. We are going to have a multi-agency framework of collaboration. We will work effectively with the independent officers. We have taken counsel on what we need to do, and we respect the independent officers, the office of the DPP, for example, and even NCIC, and we will continue to do our work. We are going to be more present in public meetings and in campaign rallies. We will have more of our officers, whether they are from NCIC or from the DCI, embedded in some of this political activity, so that we not only detect crime when it's committed, but we are also able to document the evidence that we need to support prosecution. Because we are going to ensure that law and order is kept as we move forward. So that's all I can say for now. So our monthly report for January is that we don't have more than 4 incidents that we can report that are related to election campaigns that have happened. In one of them, the incident that happened in Busia, we have a suspect in court. In the other 3 incidents, the groups that are involved are the ones that bribed supporters and ferried supporters, different groups of the same political grouping, and then they fought or had a conflict as a result of their bribing. It's not the job of police officers to mediate bribery contracts, and it's not the job of police officers to follow up false promises made by politicians and mediate conflicts arising from those false promises and so on. It's upon political leaders to conduct themselves decently and manage their affairs effectively. That's all I can say for now. There are claims that have been made recently by one political group listing incidents where they claim that they have been violated. We don't have a single report in any of our police stations. The Inspector General is here of any of those incidents that they list there. I know that sometimes we are dealing with the case of the death of decency, the conduct of political affairs in our country, but we ask our political leaders also to be a bit more decent and responsible, because they are as responsible for this country as we are ourselves. We have one country, this is our only home on earth. We cannot hope to destroy it in the process of seeking political power. Let's not harass our people for no apparent reason. Finally, I reiterate a position that was taken by His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief that we urge our security forces and our colleagues in the security sector across the country to continue doing their work firmly without fear or favor. I'll talk more about this when we meet our security team later in the week on Thursday for our planning for the year, that we are here to ensure that law and order is maintained. Our officers should never be intimidated by anything, and they should not be cowed by political sentiments. Likewise, I ask our political leaders to respect public servants. We are not politicians, and we don't want to be dragged to the political streets. And therefore, attacking public officers who do not have a platform to defend themselves is both immoral, irresponsible, and reckless on the part of political leaders. Because if you go to a public meeting and attack a county commissioner or a regional commissioner who doesn't have a platform to come and explain that what you're actually talking about are just lies, so you are the only one who has the opportunity to keep lying about public officers, because they will never come back to explain to the public that they're being lied about. It's not fair. It has never happened in our country before. Very finally, our country has been together and we have been successful to keep the peace in our country because most of our political leaders have behaved responsibly. I want to request those who are working so hard to lower the standards of political leadership in our country to spare us that we have had elections before, people have contested elections, and they have not torn the country apart. They have not attacked public servants and dragged public servants to the political arena and so on. Let's maintain that and do what we need to do as we go along. But thank you again. We'll keep working together. We will issue the written report. We'll share it with you. And then from this day forward, when we do our monthly electoral environment review, we will release a report that we will give you. We were slightly late because this is the first one, but when it's off print, we'll give it to you, and then we'll give you monthly reports subsequently on the state of security in the country as we prepare for elections.
What is your office doing about that as well?
It's not a partnership between us and IBC. IBC conducts elections. Our job is to ensure that Kenyans who qualify, who should be given IDs, get the IDs. And we have a robust program that has been in place since the beginning of the year, where we instructed, first of all, the assistant chiefs and the chiefs to ensure that the IDs that have not been collected, the assistant chiefs should walk around their sublocations. Sublocation is not that big in many parts of our country, especially in urban areas. And then you can move around, and some of those, especially in rural Kenya, you can even know the families by looking at the names and so on. We are doing everything we can. All our registration bureau, our National Registration Bureau staff, they are all on duty and they are out. And we have agreed that we are working, almost 24/7 to ensure that every Kenyan who needs an ID gets an ID so that they can get a voter's card. So our part in that exercise is to ensure that those who require IDs get them. And I think we are doing well. From the reports we are getting from the ground, from our county commissioners and the teams in the field, is that the exercise of registration has gone on very well. The uptake on the IDs that have not been collected has gone very well. I don't have powers, and the law does not allow me to comment on voter registration because that is not my responsibility. On the case of Rivayala, as you know, the IG and the DCI sent a special team down there that is working on that matter. As a rule of thumb, when investigations of that magnitude are going on, we don't offer sideline commentaries while that is going on. It's a very unique occurrence, as it were, and I need to clarify so that you, our colleagues, understand that, it's not as if 19 bodies were found at once. The calculation is that over several months, we have cumulatively had a number of nearly about 19 or so bodies picked from that place. So a lot of work is going on. The DCI's forensics team is there, and a very strong homicide team sent down there by the IG is working on this. I would be patient and wait for the report from that team and the IG when that work has been complete. I would not like to speculate on that matter, and I would like to request colleagues, whether it's from you good people from the press and our other colleagues, let's not speculate on that matter. And please, Nixon, I think that's enough for today. Thank you so much.